Okay, welcome to another segment of Real Riders Ride. I am your host, The Spoiler, and today we have a special guest for you, my man, the biker, Chubby.
Hello.
Chubby, welcome here to the show. I want to thank you for coming out and spending your time because I know you're a busy man, okay?
Thank you, Spoiler. I'm glad you had me.
Now, let's get into Chubby the biker. How did you get into the motorcycle world?
Well, I tell you, I don't know how interesting it is, but like a lot of people, I started out on dirt bikes when I was a kid.
Sure.
I grew up just northwest of Milwaukee, Menominee Falls, and at the time it was mostly a farming community. So I had the opportunity. My parents never liked motorcycles at all, so I had to stash.
That's the common thing I'm running into.
I had to stash my motorcycle by a good friend of mine, Chad's house. But we rode out in the farm fields probably from the time I was 14 or 15 years old.
Okay.
Did a lot of dirt bike riding. And then a good friend of mine, again, without the knowledge of my parents, when I was about 16 years old, my good friend Todd borrowed me some money. I had about half the money, and I got my first bike was a 750 Sabre, a 1984. Oh, a 700 it was.
700. Okay.
But it was a V4 Honda Sabre.
The Honda Sabre. A good bike. That's a good bike, you know.
It was nice shaft drive. I definitely drove the tires off of that.
Right.
And that was my first street bike. I think the first time I was on the street, I drove a 650 Maxim. Another friend of mine was a little bit older than me, and he let it drive it up and down our road, you know.
Sure.
I think I was probably 15 at the time, but just the whole thrill of the road was a different element than being on the dirt.
Right.
Different things to think about. And I have to admit, when I first did it, you know, I guess it could have been dangerous. We all kind of look back and wonder how we survived.
Sure. How we survived
without doing something, but I did. Went from that, and my last year of high school, I bought I had a 1986 VFR 750,
okay,
which at the time was pretty state of the art for a sport bike.
Okay.
You know, it was 750. I put a Hindle pipe on it. It sounded nice, sounded like a stock car. And I bet you I put about 30,000 miles on that. I got rid of it when I was bought it when I was 17, and I got rid of it when I was about 24 years old.
Oh, wow. You kind of rode that thing everywhere.
Yeah, I rode the tires off it. At the time, I thought Crivets, to me, a long distance ride was going to Crivets, you know. It was,
right.
At the time, it was a little further away than it is now. With it didn't have it had more 2-lane highways.
Okay.
But you're looking at like 3 hours on a sport bike, and it didn't lean forward like many of the sport bikes today.
Sure.
But it was pretty neutral stance, and it took something. I thought I was really getting some riding in, and I did it with groups of friends. We probably had about 6 people in our group.
Okay.
Did a lot of rides together. We'd ride to Road America for all the races, not just the bike races.
Sure.
Great
That's
time.
always good time.
And then everything going on in Milwaukee. You know, being that age, the drinking age was 21 when I turned 18. I think that happened. It turned to 19 when I was 17, and when I turned 18, it turned to 21.
It kept moving on you.
And I'm like, okay. So we couldn't really go to a lot of events in Milwaukee, but we definitely rode around Milwaukee.
Sure.
That's always been my stomping ground. I'm very comfortable in urban areas.
Okay.
Riding. I know a lot of people that I have come visit me are shocked when we're going down the freeways and we're close to cars and we're integrated with traffic. It's something I think anybody that grows up in an urban area gets used to
doing.
Yeah.
You're just used to doing.
Yep.
Now, who are some of the folks that you kind of looked up at riding here?
Well, I tell you, you know, right off the bat, it was guys that I rode with and my friends' brothers. Like I said, this Todd that got me started, I was always impressed. He was a guy riding wheelies up and down the road. I could never pull that one off, and I sure don't condone it now that I'm an old guy.
Right.
But I got a lot out of him. And then once I passed that sport bike stage, I wanted a bike with a radio, and I bought a Goldwing.
Okay.
And when I did that, I'd ride around, and I got a little razz from some Harley guys.
Very smooth ride.
You know,
right?
you can't afford a Harley, wing it, they say, right? But I went on a ride. I'm telling you, I had it all. I went on a ride. It was a New Year's Day run out of Kierkein, and I rode with a lot of guys. Almost everybody had a Harley, and they didn't look at me any different. They didn't act any different. They welcomed me to the group. And as I talked to them, was a bunch of ABATE members.
Okay.
And then it just so happened earlier in spring, this is New Year's, earlier in the spring, I worked for a guy who was a pretty gung-ho ABATE member by the name of Bob Thompson. They call him Hoggy or Hogman.
Okay.
And he'd been an ABATE member for that time almost since inception. And he said, "You an ABATE member?" I'm like, "No, I thought it was a Harley group." He said, well, you need to be. So I signed up right then with my Goldwing, went to my first Goldwing meeting on a Goldwing.
Right.
And again, everybody was welcoming. Nobody cared what I rode. I was really surprised.
Right.
So it couldn't have been that much later that I bought a Harley anyway. But this same guy.
This is peer pressure or group pressure here?
You know, I don't
just
know.
around
You
it?
know, I tell you, I don't know what happened for you.
Uh-huh.
But when I first went to buy a Harley, I was just going to look. I just wanted to
Just
see how
wanted
much
to
it
see
cost.
what they look
I'm just
like.
going to check it out.
Right.
And
Versus what you're riding.
I tell you
see
what,
the competition.
an old friend of mine was a salesman at Milwaukee Harley Davidson at the time, and when I walked in, he hit me up. We started talking, and it got down to the payment. What can you afford?
What
This is
can-
what we can do. I'm like, oh, I can afford that. That'd be cool. So my girlfriend really wanted to buy a house, and I bought a bike.
You bought, see.
So a girlfriend did go by the wayside. I have
Right,
to admit
right.
that.
Sooner or later, I was like, it looks like she didn't make it.
Yeah, she didn't make it. No, but
She fell off the back there. Right?
no, but eventually I did find that, and throughout that whole thing, this Hogman, he stuck with me, and he really, like I say, my parents never condoned me riding.
Sure.
So I had hid my bikes. Actually, even as an adult, I never rode by them.
Okay.
I respected their wishes. It's kind of an odd story. A neighbor tried to outrun a train on a motorcycle and died.
Oh, wow.
Well, to this day, I've never tried to outrun a train, and I wouldn't suggest it.
Right. That's a, yeah.
Yeah, even my family, the first time they knew I rode a motorcycle, I rode to my mother's funeral on my bike.
Okay.
But since then, it's really been somewhat of a, everybody in the family knows me as the biker, you know, and
Okay.
especially in my position now. My family is broken throughout the United States, but
Sure.
many of my aunts and uncles use pictures on my bike for their Christmas cards.
Sure.
And they're all really with it and they're very cool about it. I bet my mom would have liked it too.
Now, what about some of the kids coming up now? Because now you're the role model for them. I want to ride just like Uncle Chubby.
Well, I tell you what, that's something I think that we miss in motorcycling today that used to be around back when I was young. When I did something stupid when I started riding, I didn't take a class
Right.
in motorcycle education till about 4 years ago.
Okay.
I learned to ride, you know, on the dirt and then on the street with my friends' brothers. It was mostly the older brothers that when you did something wrong, you got a cuff in the back of the head.
Right.
Are you kidding? You're going to die. You're going to kill us all that way.
Sure.
Luckily, maybe something didn't happen before that, but it was, I didn't realize at the time, but they're mentoring me.
Right, you had a mentor.
And that's something that's talked about in education circles a lot now, and I truly believe that we all have that obligation as bikers to mentor somebody young.
Sure.
And the same thing, the young person has to be willing to be mentored. You know, everybody's headstrong, nobody wants to get critiqued, but my years of experience on the road have definitely taught me a few things.
Sure.
I'm always learning new things, and I have survived with primarily urban driving. You know, I've been on the road since 1986.
Right.
So, you know, I've definitely survived my time.
Yeah.
And so I would hope that many young people would like to ride with me. I definitely bring people into the ranks that are, I'm going to be 45 this July, and I still bring people up that are closer to my age that just want to experience riding. Maybe their kids are grown now and they find some more time.
Sure.
But I'm always more than willing to take them. I do suggest a class most often. Not everybody needs one, I realize. But they have that opportunity to take that class, but then get with me. Let's go for a ride.
Right.
The only thing that slows that down is, as you said before, how busy I am. I am busy. I'm hustling and bustle. I'm a freeway guy. I wish I could enjoy some of the side roads that I used to.
Sure.
But I have a meeting in La Crosse, and then I'm going to scoot up to Eau Claire, and then I got to go over to Green Bay for something, and then I'm going down to Chicago. You know,
Right,
it's
so you're burning.
constantly like that. And to have anybody new to the ride isn't going to be able to
They
keep that
just
pace.
they won't get it.
If I was going out for a ride around Holy Hill, I'd call a few people that were newer to riding. Hey, why don't you come ride with me and we'll have some fun.
Right,
That's,
right.
And that's how it should be.
Right, and that's what we always tell people, take the class. And once you're done with the class, then we'll teach you our style of riding. So then everything will click in for you, and then you'll at least have some good awareness about what you're doing out here on the road and who's around you, and be conscious about what you're doing on these two wheels. You know.
I totally agree. And although I didn't take that class to start with, I definitely suggest it for everybody. I am one of those that don't think we should mandate it because there's people like me that did grow up on a dirt bike. The class really gets you comfortable with all the controls so you don't have to think. If you had any experience on a motorcycle, you should have that comfortable. They definitely teach you riding techniques. I'm familiar with the class now because my organization has a rider course.
Sure.
So I've become familiar with it, and I definitely believe in it very much. but I always want to leave that opportunity open so that if you wanted to get a license, it could be affordable. I mean, I think the key is affordable. That's when we're going to leave our young people in the dust, is when it costs $1,000 to take a
get
class,
on the-
which it doesn't now, don't get me wrong. It's a
right.
few $100. But if you make it not affordable, you're going to discourage young people from doing it, and we're going to lose a whole culture.
Whole lot of people.
In my mind, too, motorcycling isn't a sport. It's my life.
Right.
It's a part of many people's life. It's a culture.
Oh yeah,
You feel it.
Yeah, well, we spend our lives, we spend our vacations, kids' time, everything doing this two-wheel thing. You know?
Absolutely.
And you, if you haven't seen that movie Why We Ride, that's all they talk about. You know,
Sure.
Motorcycling as the whole family. This is what we do, and it's changed their lives in so many ways, and I truly believe it. I truly believe it.
I have to admit, I do too. And it came, for years as a young man, I tried to get along with different people in different walks of life. A lot of my friends' parents owned businesses, and I wanted to be that business guy.
Sure.
I don't think I ever found that true calling until I met the bikers.
Right.
Hogman, when he introduced me around, he's become like a father to me now.
Sure.
And I've ridden the wheels off with him. I probably drive 2,000 to 3,000 miles a year with him, elbow to elbow. That's something that I don't suggest for everybody, but
Sure.
as part of the culture,
Right.
I firmly believe in driving next to each other.
Sure.
I think that's the highest honor in my idea.
Right.
But that's something that's saved for somebody that's experienced,
Yeah, you have
that knows how to do
right.
it.
You have to be very comfortable with that person next to you to up like that. And like you said, it's a position of respect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Both ways. It's a position of respect.
There's a trust, and there's a feeling though, and everybody though that I'm involved with, I do consider them family.
Sure.
Every biker, I feel we always have a common ground. I can always talk to a biker.
Oh, you can always talk
we
that
feel the same.
motorcycle. Just pull up on them two wheels. I don't care what the two wheels are. Pull up on the two wheels. A conversation will ensue about that bike, and then you start the common bond, the glue to put everything together. So, that's the beauty of two wheels. It can bridge a lot of gaps in this society if they just let them.
I'm with you, man.
So, with that, we will cut away from this segment. We'll come back to Chubby, and he'll tell you some other things that he's really getting the meat and potatoes on. We'll be back in a second.